Hey guys, welcome everybody. So today's webinar is just going to be a continuation from where we left off last week. Uh, Last week we started with overview of Power BI. In the overview, we talked about a lot. We talked about what Power BI is. That is a data visualization and a business intelligence tool that allows you to convert data from different data sources to interactive dashboards and Power BI reports. And we also learned that Power BI has three flavors. We have the Power BI desktop, Power BI services, Power BI mobile, and then we have a different one, which most people will say is three, but really it's actually four. But the last option is an option that you just have to be super big in security and you don't want your data in the cloud for any reason. Then Power BI report server. Okay, and then Power BI is just nothing. The Power BI desktop is more like a client tool that we use in loading our data from different sources and also cleaning the data up. You can download and install it for free. You can do data cleansing, you can create business metrics and data models. So you can do all of that. For the Power BI services, we learned that just like one of the software as a service, it allows you, gives you a web-based platform, from where you can basically, share um, report that are basically made from Power BI desktop. And the Power BI mobile just gives you a different view besides the desktop view. So just like you have, your desktop view, you can also view your Power BI report using your mobile phone. And then the Power BI server, it's just like the Power BI service. The difference in this one is that it is Power BI server um, that is used for, say, on-premises platform. It is used by organizations who do not want to publish their report on the cloud, and they are super concerned about the security of their data. So people like that will use Power BI reports. So these are the three flavors of Power BI that we talked about. We talked about the people, that that uses Power BI, the developers, DBAs, business owners. We also talked about types of um, what you can basically do with Power BI. Of course, you can create and publish, your report using Power BI. You can make highly interactive, engaging, and powerful report, dashboard, or visuals using Power BI too. And of course, you can share the report, with your teammate or team members at work. Okay. Then we share what is it called? We talked about the Power BI Gateway, which today we're going to actually talk more about that, what a Power BI Gateway is, and then we learn that it allows you to basically refresh your report. We also learn about the important features of Power BI. We mentioned a few of them, which as we do demo and we play around with Power BI more, we will familiarize ourselves with them. We talked about Ribbon, the get data, the view selection, the fields, visualization, the visual fields, filters, and all of that. Okay. I don't know if I missed anything. We talked about a few components of Power BI. We talked about Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View, Power Map, Power BI Desktop, Power BI Website, Power BI Service, Power BI Q&A, which we're going to talk about in detail tonight, Power BI Mobile App, which we're going to talk about tonight as well, the Data Catalog, Data Management Gateway. We talked about the pricing for Power BI and we broke them down. The desktop is free, the Power BI Pro, you need to pay $9.99 per month. If you want to use the Power BI Premium, it's available for $4,995 per month. Then we install Power BI desktop. We design just basic visualization, and we publish our report on Power BI services. And then we played around with it a little bit. So today we're going to continue from there. So that's just a recap. If you're watching this video and you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, you want to watch the previous video for this series, I'm going to quickly share my screen so we can continue from where we left off. All right, so today we are going to be, this is the agenda for today. And before we get started, just a little house rule. Feel free to type a message on the chat when I'm talking if you want to ask a question. If you want to ask a question as we make progress and want to interrupt and say something, it might drag our achievement for tonight. But feel free to type out your question, and then Michael or Bertie will see the questions and will let me know, and we can address them one at a time. Okay. And then, of course, keep your mics mute. All right, with that said, let's jump straight into it. So tonight we are going to, the agenda for tonight is to learn how to load data from Sql Server. The last time we loaded data from Excel spreadsheet. So today we're going to load data from Sql Server. We learned that there are different methods, different data sources that we can get data from, okay? So tonight we're just going to use load data from Sql Server. We'll also learn how to load data from, say, from application, website. If time permits us, we'll learn how to load data from different data sources. Then we'll transform the data, play around and see how we can clean up the data and make it, readable. We're going to automate a report refresh, so that we'll be able to, see how if you publish a Power BI on your dashboard, what if the data source changes? What if the actual data changes? How will it show up on Power BI? We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to install and configure Data Gateway that allows you to be able to refresh data. And of course, we're going to be navigating Power BI services, see some of the features that we can take advantage of, and then creating dashboards using Power BI Q&A, which is amazing. We're going to be learning how to automate Power BI reports. So as you can see, we have a lot to do tonight. We may not finish it tonight. Wherever we get to, we can, continue another time. But this is the agenda that we have for tonight. All right. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to drop a message on the chat. Okay. All right. So let's get started. I already gave you guys a quick overview of what we did last week. So today we're just going to continue from there. So I don't have slide, unfortunately, because today is all about demo, practical. So this is where we left off, I believe. I'm not sure. I know I played around with it a little bit, but so this is your Power BI desktop. This is your Power BI desktop. So last week we loaded data from the employee table, that has basic information, name, department, gender, manager. And then we played around with some visualization chart. We use this chart that is sorting salary by department. And we also, created this other chart that is giving us a count of name by department and gender. Okay. So if you click on it, remember, before you change anything on Power BI or before you change a particular visual, you need to click on it first. You click on it first, and then you can change anything. So for example, if I want to take off the gender, I have to click on it first, and then I can go here on my data source and click gender unselected. And now it is only counting name by department. Okay, so if I over my mouse around website, I'm able to see that count of name here is 31 on the department website, and count of name, and this names, I believe they are employees. Count of name is also 30 for department procedure, and so on and so forth. So for some reason I want to know, okay, it doesn't really matter whether they're male or female. So I don't want anybody to judge on that. It doesn't really matter. So, but just in case you want to see how, you can do that. So you have to click on it first, then go look for any other field that you want to add. So in this case, I want to just by clicking on it, it will show, sort the data more, giving you the count of name by department. So if you hover around it, you can see how many male and you can see how many female. Then if you don't know what this color stands for, you can actually, hover around it. You will see that blue is for male and green is for female. Sorry guys, I need to have, if somebody try to join, I hope I'll be able to see. Hey, Michael, you're also the host, I believe, or co-host. So look out for people that probably may be on standby or want to join. So that
That's fine. I'm already doing that.
all right. So there are two ways that this can happen. So you can either click on the visual that you want to add values to, and just go and click on the field like I did. Okay. You can also click and drag it. All right. So I can also, oops, selected the wrong one. Okay. So you can also drag it instead of, oh, not, that should be under, oops, what did I do? It has to be under the values. So name, put it under values, and then gender, you can click and drag it, make sure it turns yellow. You want to go that route, okay? But remember, you can either click on it independently, and then, before independently, and it will also show up. It's pretty much the same thing. Okay, so another thing I want us to play around with here is to play around, with the painting roller. Sorry, let me get this out of the way. With the painting roller, which is this, but you know what, let me check our agenda. So the first thing actually today is to load data. We're gonna come back to this, okay? And we'll play around with the data and see how we can decorate this. So first thing first, let's load new data. Let's load new data into this. So we can just follow our agenda. And then once we're done loading the data, and we can, in the process of cleaning up the data, which is part of our agenda, then we can start doing this, because what I'm doing is just coloring the data and data cleanup. So like we learned the other day or last week, so to load data, you have to go to get data. See this option here that says get data. If you click on it, it will show you different data sources here. If you want to see more, click on more. It will display the entire list, and you can scroll down and select any data source that you can think of. Any data source at all. See SAP, Teradata, Google BigQuery, Snowflake, name it, you get it from here. All right, so, but for the purpose of our exercise, we want to pull data from Sql Server. So I'm going to go here and select Sql Server database and hit connect. So remember, I'm on this page right here, the same page where I was. So what is going to happen here is that I'm going to load this data on this same page. I can decide to load it on a different page. Okay, you know what? Let's do that. I'm going to click here. I can call this. Remember, you can actually name this just like you would name in Excel. I will call this employee. When typing. Let's do it again. Your name page, call it employee. What can I do? Employee info, something like that. Okay. So if you click on the plus sign, you'll be able to open another one. So we can load the new data here. But it's going to be the same, it's the same file, the same report. So I'm just opening another page. All right, so we'll play around with both of them. So let's go now to get data and select SQL Server. So here you must make sure that your SQL Server name is correct. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to get back here and copy the exact name. Control C and cancel out there and go back to my Power BI desktop. Paste it. The database name there, the database is optional. Why is it optional? Let me tell you when it's going to be very useful. If you have a lot of databases, hundreds of databases in an instance, it will make sense to just provide the name of the database. If you have few databases, it's okay. It's not required. Okay. Go ahead and hit OK. Most times you probably see some kind of warning if the first time you're connecting to data will warn you that you're about to connect using unencrypted connection. Go ahead and hit OK. That's completely fine. It will still let you connect if you have access to that environment. Okay. All right. So I have we want to pull data from AdventureWorks database. So I can go ahead and just open AdventureWorks database here. Then the views. Let me look for a simple table, human resources, that's view. Okay. Human resources, the department, human resources, that employee. What else? Shift, not interested. So you can select, of course, depending on the requirements, okay, what you're looking for. I'm just this exercise is just to show you how to, load data from SQL Server. And these are tables. This part that I scroll past, they are views. How do I know? The first V tells me that it's view. And most environments you probably have good naming convention that will let you know whether it's view or not. And the one that doesn't have a schema, you will not see DBO schema. You will only see the name of the actual database, actual tables. You won't see DBO dot, the name of the table, okay? You will not see that. All right, I think I'm fine with this, just the human resources and employee and department. That's okay, employee pay history. You know what, just play around with it, I might need it later. Okay, so I've selected 3 tables from this database. Now you have option right here to actually transform the data here, or you can transform the data later. For now, I'm just going to load the data. I will show you guys in another demo how to transform the data at this level. You just hit the transform and you'll be able to play around with the data. The transform just simply means you are cleaning up the data, changing a few things that you don't like the display. We'll talk about all of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and just load this data. It's loading, just wait for it. So once it is done, you will see it over here. There you go. So it's beginning to load there. So I have human resources, the department. If you want to see everything, you can click and drag so you can see the table names properly. Okay, see that? So we have department, employee, employee history. All right, let me close this, guys. I don't need them. Okay, I'm probably going to be playing around with human resources schemas. Okay, all right. So let's play around with this. Now we have loaded our data from SQL Server into Power BI Desktop. So how do we play around with this data? How do we load? So let's just create, a simple visualization or report. Okay, let's start with human resources employee. All right, it has birth date, business entity ID, gender, and all this information right here. Let me check. The department just has department ID, group name, modified name, and name. All right, so let's start with this. So you can either click on a table visualization, even if you don't do that, just by clicking on the table that you want to display. If you click on it, it will start to load it. If you have clicked, as you can see, it's still by default pointing to this chart right here, but that may not necessarily be what I want. So I can go ahead and delete it. I don't want that. Don't select anything. So I can just drag this and put it here and then change it to table grid, and it will just load my data for me. Um, So department ID, group name, all right? So I can do that. Um, let's see, let's leave that. I'm gonna upload another one. So let's open human resources employee, which has a lot more columns. Okay, so let's load. Another good thing is that at this level, you can do what views will do for you. All right. You can basically select the columns that you want the end users of the report to actually see. Okay. So in this case, I want to load this on a grid as well. So vacation hours, salaries, name, it doesn't matter. Birth date, gender, um, again, if you notice, it's still on this visualization. That's not what I want. So I want it to be on table grid. So I will have to change that. So you need to understand what is going on here. If it's highlighted, you know that it's using that particular visualization. All right, I want to select the job title. Just by selecting it, it will load the values for me. Marital status, I don't care if you're married or not. Salary, flag, vacation hours. Okay, all right, that's fine. Just for the purpose of this demo, because we have a lot of demos to do, I don't want to spend time trying to decide, what column to display. Oh, okay. So now, first thing first, we've loaded data from SQL Server onto our Power BI dashboard. So here, this is where you can start to play around with. Now, first thing first, if I want to change this to any other visualization, I can actually do that. And then if I want to, let's say, play around with the actual visual, the colors and all those things, I can go over to this painting roller that allows you to play around with the format. Okay. One of the things I can advise you about Power BI is that there are a lot of things you need to play around yourself and understand how they work. Column header, I can decide to change my column header from black to a different color. I don't see a reason to do that, but let me just put it on purple. I don't know if that looks good. There's a lot of creativity involved in using Power BI. I can change the background. That is because I'm under column header, okay? So I will come out from there, go to the actual values. Right now, my values, they are in black. The font color is black. I can change the background for my font color from white to something different. May not look very beautiful, but just to show you how this works. Again, this is just for the values. The values simply means the data, okay? So it doesn't change the background. I'll leave it to white, but just to show you what it looks like. Field formatting. If you want to format single field, these are the columns. So you can select, as you can see, start with the first column on that particular table. See, the first column is year. All right, so if you click on this drop down, you will see other columns in there. You can, if you have any reason to, to modify them or, change things around them. So for example, the color for the year, I can change it to display units. Let's see how this works. Display the unit in thousands, 2K. I don't want that. Millions, 0M, billions. Okay, all right, I'll leave that to none. I don't think it makes any sense because of that data. Again, things need to make sense to you. Okay, all right. Let's move to background. See, field formatting. Background color is white. Can change my background color. If for any reason the colors listed here doesn't meet your required need, you can go to custom and then you can click on anywhere, it will give you what you want. If you want to color a particular field, as you can see, it is the changes that I'm making is only affecting the year because year is what is displayed here. Okay, if I want to play around with colors, I can do that as well. All right, let's move on. So what else? Style, values, total, field formatting. I've shown you guys that. Okay, the background, this background here is talking about the background for the report itself. So the default is white. I can change it to anything that makes sense. If it doesn't look good, I can, play around with it. That's what I have there, but that doesn't look too good. So let's play around with blue and black. Maybe, you know, I can, for you to use anything that is turned off and you feel like you want to use it, you have to turn it on, okay? So I just enable the border and it's black. And if I want to change it, I can change the border to anything. And again, once you can increase it like this, you see the impact, you see the effect on the visual. That's why I say Power BI involves a lot of creativity. You need to play around with it to be able to, really take advantage of it and understand what is going on. Okay, excuse me. All right, so there are a lot of things you can do. You can change the font, you can change the font size, and do whatever with the data. So please, if you have any question, feel free to drop your question in the chat box. Okay, so let's say we want to want to change this or want to leave it as is and then bring maybe a different visualization that will really make sense with our data. So let's say I want to use the star column chart. I can click on it. Remember, you have to click out. Let me delete this one more time. If you click on this, on one of these boxes here, and you come here and select the star, it will change whatever you have selected, all right? If I want to change it to something else, to the pie chart, I have to click on it, then change it. So meaning that it can change the visualization to whatever you want. I can change it to donut chart, anything you want, okay? So for this particular one, I think it was actually on table. So I changed it to the default. So if I want to design something different, again, I have to click outside in the empty box or the blank space here. And then I can go to any visualization that I want and click on it. And then I can check what else do I want? What do I want to play around with? Let's check another table. So for this table, for example, I may want to do, want to sort department. So I can drag department here and then department by, say salary. So this will gives me which department is, you know, is the company is spending a lot of money on. Okay, so that I can sort it that way, salary by department. And if I want to also include names there, I can actually, add this name column to it, which doesn't look very beautiful. But I may decide to change the chart to give me something more meaningful if I want to go that route. And if it doesn't work like that, I can do something else, something different. Okay. So for now, that particular this particular view will give me, so this particular view is better for me to, of course, remove the name, doesn't make sense. All right, so I will just sort it, so just have salary, by departments. So I can either use this, um, in my opinion, I think this is better. I can also use stack bar chart. It's completely up to you. There's a lot of creativity involved in Power BI. Excuse me. Okay. All right. So we're just playing around with the data. I'm just showing you different things that you can do with Power BI, and then we'll move to other things. So let's look for another example while we're here, different. Let me look for a different table, probably. Let me see what is in this table. Oh, it's pretty much the same. Okay, all right. Probably need a different kind of um, data set to be able to show you guys other examples. But the most important thing here is that understand how to play around with your data. Once you load your data and you have your tables here, remember, don't mix them up. These are different tables. You need to understand that we have different tables here. Okay, we have different tables. See, I just collapsed all. Okay, all right. Michael, please help me in that meeting. Some people, I just admitted somebody. I don't know who. Okay, all right. So this is where you have all your tables. So just understand how that works. What else can we do here? All right. So the next in agenda, the next thing in our agenda is transforming data. So let's see how we can transform our data. All right. Let's see how we can transform our data. Let me go back here where we have our employees info. Okay, all right. Let's play with this. This has names, department, gender, manager, and all. All right, so cool. Let's use this one. Now, this is what we call canvas in Power BI. All right. So this first icon here represents report. This is your data set. All right. And this is some kind of data model kind of stuff. We'll talk about it in the future. Okay. So if you click on the data set, it's just going to show you the raw data as is, just the way you brought it in. Okay. All right. So now if we want to transform the data, what do? You first of all click on the data that you desire to transform, and you can say transform data. Okay, transform data. Now, see what is going to happen. It opens like a different window for me where I have more options to be able to play around with the data. So here I can change data types. I can change decimal places and decimal points. I can change the date format. I can change the time format. Anything I feel like I want to change that really makes sense to me in my data. And one thing I have to tell you is that for you to use Power BI effectively, you need to know your data. What do I mean by know your data? You know your data by understanding what is this data for? What is this report for? What kind of information do we have in this report? So you need to familiarize yourself with your data to really be effective using your data. Okay. All right. So let's take, for example, let me give you a few tips here. So look at this column where it says ABC. This tells me that this is a text, this is string. All right, this is string values. And there's a high tendency that I may not want to use string values on all my columns. I may want to change things around. All right. So a good example is date join. Okay, this is date. Date join. I don't care about the time someone joined my team or joined my company. I just care about the date. So I can take off the time. So if I want, and how do you do that? You select that column first. Now you go up here where you say data type. Now it says date time. So if you click here, I can change it to date. It will ask me, do you want to replace existing? I said yes. See, voila, it changes it to a different format. So if this works for me, and right now, if you ask me, this makes sense. I don't care about the date, the time that, some individual joined the company. I just want to know the date. All right. So that looks good. You can also play around with the salary column if you wanted to have uh, different kind of decimal places or things like that. So I can let's play around with it and see how it comes out. So fixed decimal number is what we have there. So I can say I want just decimal number. Say replace. All right. This may or may not be what you want. My job is to show you how to basically change these things, play around with it if what you want a whole number, see the effect of it. The good thing is that you can always go back to whatever you want, okay? If it's not your desired, doesn't give you a desired result. Decimal number, all right? So apparently, because this is supposed to be salaries, money, so I will say fixed decimal number will make sense for me. So I'll leave it this way, okay? Remember, what are we doing here? We're basically transforming the data. So when we talk about transforming the data, it is nothing but the data look good or let it make sense to you. For any reason you want to change the actual data, remember, this is not where you do your visualization and all the beautiful things that we do in Power BI. This is just the raw data. Okay. All right. So now after if you are satisfied with everything that you see here, then you can actually save and close. But let me see any other thing that may be very useful to you. You can do group by, that makes sense. If you want to remove a particular row, you can click on that row, then you select here remove row, but that is not my intention. Okay, if you want to remove a column, you have to select that column and select remove column. I don't intend to do that, but that's how you do it. Okay, what else will make sense to you guys? Manage parameter. You can refresh the data manually if the data has been refreshed from the source. If you refresh it here, it will take effect, okay? Data source settings, you can let's click on data source settings. Of course, if you, for any reason, you want to modify something in your data source, you can do that. Obviously, we don't want to do that, okay? But just understand, if you ever want to do that, you can do that. Recent data sources, if I want to load data from my recent data sources, all of these are data sources that I've used in recent times. If I want to I loaded data from a website, I use it as my data source, and I loaded movies data, credit, and all of this. So this will just show you the most recent data. If I want to see if I want to do a new source, I click here and I select the source that I want. Okay. What else? Looking for any other relevant stuff, to show you guys. Resource. As if I want to add columns, views, column distribution, query dependencies. Okay, anyway, so once you're done transforming your data, You can either hit this option that says save, or, oh, that got removed because I changed my view where I was. So if you go back to home, you see the option here that says close and apply, all right? Or just hit save. So let's hit close and apply. So it's applying the changes. Remember, you have to select the report that you want to transform. Okay, so that was our number 2 agenda as far as our agenda is concerned. So transforming data. So you guys saw how to transform data. You can change the data type. You can, you can change how the data actually looks, change the decimal points, and anything that you really can do as far as your data is concerned. Then by the time you come out here, you can of course play around with the actual data itself. So like for example, this looks a little boring. I want to change the background to something else. So I click on it and I flip over to my format icon here, and I can look for field formatting. No, I want to format the background. Click on the background. I don't want it to be white. I want it to be a different color. Let's say purple. Doesn't look good. Let's say light blue or deeper blue or green. Sucking colors, man. Okay. I mean, it doesn't look good the way I wanted it to be. So I can change, let's do it again. Let's do something else. Come here, change the field formatting. No, I don't want to change individual field. So I guess it's a background. Well, I'm sure you guys get the gist of it, right? All right, so so that's it. Once you click on any other report, the one you were working on will be activated. You know, so you can do almost anything you want. You can change the visualization of that report. All right. What else can I show you here? All right. So while we're here, if for any reason you want to filter your data, you want to slice your data, there is a visualization known as slicer right here, slicer. So if I select, let me see which one will make sense. Okay, let's use name. All right, let's use this table here. And if I go and select slicer, it will change to this. And then if I want to see information about Caro Chapel, I click on it. It will show me um, what department and the salary or any information I want to see about Carol, it would tell me, okay, if there's any relationship in the data. But the purpose of this allows you to be able to just select a particular individual or field that makes sense to you. Okay, so I will unselect that. So that's the purpose of a slicer. All right. Okay, so let's undo that. Now, go back. Okay. I think I've shown you guys virtually a lot of stuff here. Let's see what else we can learn here. Now, this part here, these are all data sources. You can, this will take you straight to Excel. You click on that, it will take you straight. So this is Excel. I have this data source here and it's Excel, okay? Because I click on Excel as a data source, so it takes me to my local system and it's looking for Excel, all right? If I want to get a Power BI data set, click on this. Is going to want to connect me to a live connection. I don't want to do that. SQL Server, of course, you want to take me to SQL Server. If I want to enter data manually, I can click outside here and come here and click enter data. So here I will have to enter data, the way I want it, like manually, I can put whatever that I want. Okay, that's what this is for. I'll cancel out of here. Are you sure you want to exit? Yes. Oh, did I exit everything? Okay. All right. Okay. So what else? I already showed you guys transforming data. Text box is another popular one that I've used. So if you click on text box, so for example, this report, if I share this report, how will somebody even know what this report is really about? Okay. So with text box, click on text box and it's going to show you this. I can call this uh, department salary, for example. Now, and that makes sense to you guys. So you have to play around with it. For some reason, it doesn't have a lot of flexibility. But see what I'm doing and see how I'm moving the data. I'm gonna move it to where I really want it to be. I want it to be on top. So all of these are practical tricks in achieving, some of these things. And if you don't know, you'd be wondering, okay, how do I do this? How do I add, let's say you publish this report. And by the way, you can move the reports around. You can click on them and move it wherever, however you want it. Okay. You can move them around. You can remove anyone. So if I send this report and I want to send to someone, let's say this was not there. And my manager gets back to me and said, hey, Moses, this report doesn't have a name. If I publish it on the browser, how would one know what this report is? So you can use like a text box, to be able to name that. So I just did that and I can actually play around with it. If you double click on it, it gives you the ability to, you can bold it. Once you click on the inside of it, I think it makes sense. Then I can also, no, let's leave it here. Salary. Is that not a spelling of salary? Yeah, it is. Okay, all right. So that is it. So text box, take note of text box is always going to be very handy. New visual, I don't want new visual. What else is important here? Modeling, yes, play around with modeling. So if you click on the modeling tab, there are a few things that you can do. One, so take a look at, let me look for where I have numbers, salary department, all right? So let me click on this guy and then go to say new measure. It will prompt me to want to do some kind of a calculation. I can do some, just like what you would do in Excel. I can do some calculations, around this data. Okay. Honestly, I can't think of any example right now. But let me see changes. So out. All right, so click on it again. Remember, we're on modeling, tab, quick measure, new column, new table, new parameter, manage row, view as. All right, let's take a look at this. View as, I can say other users. Do I want to do that now? No, I will show you the views when we go to Power BI services. That we have a lot of things to play around there. Um, and of course, I will explain what Q&A means when we switch to our Power BI services. You will really appreciate its benefits when we go there. Okay, what else? Check views. Okay, so views basically here, this allows you to be able to play around with your data. So for example, if I want to change this, remember you have to select what you want. So this is changing my entire background. Do I really want that? So, but understand that you have this option. Once you select views, this is what will happen to your data. Okay, but I like the purple. So we'll leave that there. Sync slicer, I don't want to sync slicer, but I explained to you guys, about slicer. If I want to sync slicer, I can do that, and select a slicer in one of your report page to start syncing it across other pages. I don't want to do that, but if you ever want to do that, you have the option to do so. Okay, data drill, visual table. You can have this option in other situations, but if you want to drill on the data, you have to always, click on whatever data you want to drill on. I wouldn't advise you to do it here. We'll play around that when we are on our Power BI service. Power BI service. Okay, let's get back to the home page. So what we have done so far, we've loaded data from SQL Server table. We have transformed data that we loaded from SQL Server, and then we have played around with visualization and see how to do that. So the next demo we're going to be doing is automating report refresh. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to flip back to Management Studio, where we will basically create basic store procedures, create a table, and set up SQL Server agent job, and have that job run at a given a particular time. Uh, have that job run and then load the result of the query to a table. Then Power BI will go load that data, or will go and fetch the data from that location. Now, even for Power BI to go there to fetch the data, you need to be able to have what we call data gateway. And we're going to learn how to install data gateway, and I'll explain more in details what a data gateway is. Okay. All right. So let's automate our Power BI report. So I'm going to flip to Management Studio. All right. So I already have this for our demos, just to make it easy for us. And I'm going to run this select statement. So this is what, let's assume that your VP, your director, your manager sends you only this script. Hey, this report, I want to have it on my.
Hello, Moses, quick one, please.
Yes, sir.
Can you, the select statement, can you please put it on the chat window so people can also have that when they're doing theirs too? Thank you very much.
No problem. So this select statement, I'm just doing a select on purchase. I'm doing a select on purchase order ID, purchase order detail ID, purchase order date, and I'm selecting it from 3 tables on purchasing, the purchase order, and then I'm doing an inner join on purchase order details and another inner join on production, the product. So it gives me the purchase order ID, purchase order detail, the order date, the total due for these transactions, and then received quantity, and then the product name. So let's say this is a requirement. A manager, a director, a VP needs this report on their desk every Monday or every end of the month. So how do you do this? And you don't want to, I mean, of course, there are 2 ways to do this. You can actually automate this and have this report emailed to the person that needs it, okay? But I've had a situation where I was struggling with something like this because SQL Server is still struggling with some data type, some kind of data. If you run a script on SQL Server, it would display properly, all right? But by the time you copy the report, the result to say Excel, all right, it changes the format sometimes. It will not be as organized as you want it to be. I'm talking about a practical challenge. I have experienced it where I run a report. When I run it on my Management Studio, it's exactly what I want. But when I copy it and paste it on my Excel, it completely messes up the report, and of course, I just couldn't send that. So I had to add code it. And then I did a lot of coding, playing around with double quote, single quote within a SQL agent job that is sending that report, sending it in an email, you know, before I was able to get it. Upon that, it was still not 100% the way I wanted it. All right. So I had to create a Power BI report to solve that problem. Now, with Power BI, the data would be as is as you need it. Even if it's not as you need it, we just finished doing data transformation. You can actually go and transform the data the way you want it, okay? All right, so let's assume that this is what we want. We want this report to refresh every Monday, or every day, whatever the case may be. And we want every time the director goes on a Power BI dashboard, you should be able to see the latest version, the refresh copy of that report. Okay, so that is what this section of demo is all about. Again, we have a lot to go through. If we're not able to go through it finished tonight, we probably may have part 3 of this series. All right. So first thing first, so this select statement, I put it in a block of a store procedure. I created a store procedure, create store procedure. I called it purchase order information as. Now check out what I'm doing here. Power BI may not have the ability and the flexibility to be able to pull this report from some store procedure, or so you can only do this. One of the ways to do it is to find a way to load the result of this query into a table or view. Okay, so in our case here, I decide to load the data into a table. So I'm doing a create procedure as begin, and then insert into what I call data holding tank. I just call it data holding tank because I want to just use the whole data. Okay, so that's what this stop procedure is doing. Then of course the main, whatever the underlying query that I want to load in here. All right, so let's go ahead and run this part of the queries. I want to run it against my AdventureWorks database. That's completely fine. Okay, ran successfully. The next thing I want to do, I want to create a table that once this, if I call the stop procedure, it will load the data into that table. I need to create that table. So let's go ahead and create the table. If you notice here, I actually, for that data, I actually use NVARCHA maps because I don't want to deal with data types, indifferences, some large, some small amount of values. So with NVARCHA maps, it can accept anything. So that's what I use here. And of course, I made sure that the column listed here matches what I have here. So I have to, first of all, run this select statement and then identify all the columns. I check here, okay, I have this purchase order ID, purchase order detail, order date, total due, receipt, quantity, and product name. And then in my table creation, I added those columns because they must all exist for that job to run successfully. So let's go ahead and create this table. All right, done successfully. So what we want to do next is basically create a job, an agent job. The agent job is just to schedule it to run based on your requirement. All right, so we already know how to create agent job. All right, so the first thing I want to do, let's say there's already data in that table, and I want that data to be fresh, to be new every time the job runs. So I want the first step of my job to be to truncate that data. All right, so I'm going to copy this out. So let's go ahead and quickly create a job, which should be easy breezy for all of us. I will call this employee. What is that? Data for is different. Purchasing order information. All right, I'll call it the same name. Purchasing order info. Okay, that's the name of the job. So the first step that I want for this job, this first step, I want it to be clean up data, or data cleanup. Data cleanup. So meaning that I want it to, if there is data on that particular table, I want it removed. Okay, of course, as you can see, I don't intend to run this against AdventureWorks, but because as you can see in my query, I'm referencing AdventureWorks 2019.dbo, that the name of the table. So it doesn't matter whether it's a master, it will run it here. But if you're so curious, you want to change it to the actual database name, you can actually come here and do that. It's really up to you. You want to be sure your query successfully, you pass it and it will say okay. All right, so we're done with that. Let's hit okay, and then let's create step 2. So step 2, what we want to do in step 2, we actually want to call that stop procedure. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So purchase report. Purchase report. Okay, all right. So here I'm gonna go ahead and paste my stop procedure that will call and do the magic for me. All right. Of course, again, I can actually decide to I already say use AdventureWorks. So I'm sure we know all this basic right now. But if for any reason, if I was only running this part of the query, I would have to come here and change it and point to the database. So it doesn't really matter for me. But to be sure, everything looks good, can go ahead and hit OK. All right, so let's go ahead and schedule the job. So based on your requirement, you can actually, schedule this job. Again, purchase report. Okay, and then I want this to run depending on the requirements, how often you want it to refresh. I can say weekly. I can say weekly. Excuse me. For the purpose of this exercise, today is what? Well, today's Thursday. All right, let's fix Thursday, and we want it to run on Thursday. We want it to run, say, it's gonna be 8:30 soon. You know what? Let's do 8:45. Oh shoot. Sorry, 9. Okay. That's true. Okay, I'll do 9:45 because by the time I will get to that demo, we'll be around that time. But it doesn't really matter, just to show you how this works. We all understand this part. Okay, so I'll go ahead and hit OK. Everything looks good. If I want to, of course, just notification, we all know all this basic. I can see if this job fails, notify me and I'll be able to take care of it. All right, so what we have done now, we have created an agent job, we created a store procedure, we created a table that the report, the store procedure, when we call it, it will load the data into the table. Now we're just automating this process. Now we'll tie it to what is it called? To Power BI and see how this works and how your data is going to be refreshed. Okay. So now let's quickly go now and run the job. Right now it's not showing up here, but let's go ahead and refresh it. Purchasing order info. Okay. Let's run this job first of all. Let's run this script right now. It shouldn't be anything in there. All right, so it's empty. Now let's run the job. Go here, start job, add step. Opening my secondary monitor, drag it here so you guys can see it. Data cleanup, there's nothing in there, but the reason why I'm putting this step so that if I'm refreshing, if I'm running this job, let the first step be whatever data I have there, get rid of that data and then load the new one in the second step. Okay, and it will be the same data until the next time this job runs. Sweet. All right, so the job runs successfully. Let's just check it here. Let's run a select statement in that table. Bingo. So we have the data loaded successfully. Now, what we want to do, Power BI doesn't have any business with this job. It runs. That's why we're able to remember the first step on this job is to delete whatever is on this table. The instruction is go to the next step. Exactly. So we already designed that. By default, if you have more than one step, the first step will say on success, go to next by default, by design. Okay, all right. So want to tie it to Power BI. So from Power BI, you have to connect it to your data tank where you are pulling the data from. Power BI doesn't have any business with your agent job. It's not interested. The only reason Power BI is coming in here and why I'm doing this extra demo is so that you understand the requirement. The director reached out to you and said, hey, Mr. David, I want you to send me this report every month, every week, or whatever the requirement may be. But instead of you to do it manually, you can automate it. You can have SQL Server agents sent to them. At the same time, you can create a beautiful Power BI visualization that has chart that the director will look and really appreciate you. Okay. All right. So now we have created the job. So what we need to do now is to go back to Power BI and then point Power BI to that table. Let's look for that table. Refresh here. See DBO, the data holding tank. There you go. So let's flip back to our Power BI. All right, so this page is already too busy. So let me go to the other page. You know what? I can go to my page 3. Remember, you can go to different pages on the same report. Okay. So let's go and load our data from SQL Server. While that is loading, I will come here. I don't want to make mistake with my instance name. I copy the name of my instance. I flip back to my Power BI again, and then paste it. If you know the name of the database, you can put it here. But if you don't have so many databases, it's okay. You don't need to worry about it. All right, hit OK. All right, there you go. Excuse me. So this is our Adventure Works 2019, and that's where we have our report. Okay, so let's look for that report. The report is called Data Holding Tank. Remember, I told you you will not see DBO dot. Okay, so you will see just the name of the report, and this is our report right here, Data Holding Tank. So you click on it, it will show up over there. Remember, I told you when we were doing the first demo, loading data from SQL Server, I told you that when we come back in our next demo, I'll show you how we can transform the data before even loading the data. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to transform the data even before I load it. It's optional. You can load the data and then fix it later, however you want it. If the name is not what you want, you can actually rename it at this level. Okay, so it can be at this point is not data holding tank. So I can change it here to purchase information. Purchase information. I'm just making sure it's correct. All right. So what am I doing? I'm transforming my data already. This is my purchase order ID. It's fine. It's just number. It's okay. Purchase order detail ID is ID. That's fine. My order date. So by default, if I leave it to be string value, how do I know it's string? I already explained that to you guys. Just by seeing ABC here tells me that it is string. And I actually like it like that because it's showing me the actual date name or month name, April, February, May. All right. But if I don't want it to be that, I can actually change it. So let's go ahead and change it for the purpose of this demo. So you have to click on it and go up here. You see where it says data type. As you can see, it says text, right? By default. So if you don't like it, you can always change it back to text. So let's select date. I see time there as well. So let's select date time. Okay, so it changes it to and remove the actual month name. If for any reason that doesn't meet my requirement, I can also change it. All right. And now here, this is my DOLA. All right. I don't want it to be just string. Okay. I can actually from here change it to whatever I want. I can change the data type to fixed decimal number. All right. That automatically change. As you can see, dollar sign shows up here. I can tell that this is that makes sense to some people. So receive quantity is just number, doesn't make sense. It's fine. I'm okay with that. Okay. Product name, that's fine. I don't think there's anything we can do here. So we'll go and, okay. So we will go back to our Power BI and then modify, or well, not modify, or beautify our report the way we want it. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit close and apply here. All right, so it's loading the data. Man, how time flies. It's loading the data. Once the data is done loading, it will not show up here. It will show up where you have your fields, where you have your tables. And where do you have your tables? On this other side. So this is our purchase information right here. So if you click on it, will open, we're able to see it. Okay, now let's create a quick report, for our purchase information. So we can do, just select our regular table and then load all the data. Is fine. Load everything, load that, load that, load that, load that, and load that. That's fine, everything. Okay, all right. And then I can also, play around with the same data by putting some visualization. And remember, if you click on it, there are a few things you can also do here. You can, increase it, let it make sense. If you want to fill up the whole screen, you can do that. But if you are planning on bringing in another visualization, you can do that. You can actually do it in a way where each page will have a different visualization. I can use just this and have it fill up my screen and open another tab and then use a different visualization. Okay, just know the option that you have available to you. So for now, I will just leave it as is now because I want it to be on the same screen. Now, what else do we need? Let's play around with one of the visualization chart here. Let's say, let me see the data, year, quarter, month, day, product name, purchase order details, receive quantity, total due. Okay, all right, so that's definitely money. So let's play around with stock. Oops. I don't want to do that. You know why? Because I've already selected this. If I select that, it will change this to that. And that's not what I intend to do. So you always have to click outside before you select the chart or the visualization that you want to use. Okay. All right. So what do we want to do here? I'm just making this up. I'm thinking of what really makes sense. So let's do, say, purchase. Do we have total sales? Yeah, total due. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna select product name. We're gonna select maybe we'll do sales by quarter. So let's do for, select this. See, product name, order date. Purchase order, receive quantity, total due. I don't know if this is a good example, but just try it. No, not a good example. Just trying to play around with the data, guys. So let me make the product name the access, and then purchase order detail ID, no. Receive quantity, total due in the values. Okay, that may make a little sense, but even though it's not too good, but we can use it to drive our point. I'll play around with other visualization later. There are some visualization here that we have not used. I'm going to show, if time permits us, I will show you guys other example, because really depending on the data, or rather the data that you are using will determine what kind of visualization you use. Okay. All right. So now basically I don't want to go back and forth explaining this thing I've explained to you. It's really based on your creativity, what you really want to do. This may not really make a lot of sense. I can change it to, have it, that way, whatever. It's really up to you. But and again, it may not be a perfect example as far as what kind of data, but you get the gist. That's what I want you guys to know. With time, everything will make a lot of sense, to you. Okay, so let's flip back to this other report. See, what other report do I have? Know what I'm looking for? I'm trying to get data from my recent data source. Where is my name? Okay, all right. Honestly, I can see what I'm looking for, but that's fine. So once we get on our SQL, on our Power BI services, I will be able to show you guys some other visualization, because from there we can also play around with the data. Now, let's not lose track of where we are and what we have done. So we loaded the data, we automated it. Now, what we want to see is, so this report now, for example, you know what, let me take this off. It doesn't really make sense. Take it off. All right, so I can have this one all over my screen. Oops, click on it first. All right. And by the way, I'm going to talk about this. So you can actually export this data and send it in Excel spreadsheet, and it will look better. It will be able to hold the format that you want compared to what you would have had from SQL Server directly. Show as a table, remove, if I want to remove spotlight, sort descending. Now, sort by, you can actually sort the data, the report by year or quarter. So let's see quarter. All right, you can sort it however you want. So anybody using this report can actually sort the data however they want. Okay, so for now, we'll just sort it by year. Oh man, I'm out. Okay, so we're going to be publishing this report. When we publish the report, and then I will be able to show you guys how to kind of like refresh the data, from Power BI services. There are a few other things that we need to learn from Power BI services that will make sense to us. But I don't want to be very mean. So I want to give you guys just a quick 5-minute bathroom break. Please, let's be disciplined. So exactly 9:40, let's be back. I will resume exactly 9:40. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. As soon as we get back, we'll publish the report and we'll take it up from there. All right, welcome back, everybody. So let's continue from where we stopped. So now we have all these reports and we want to publish them. Okay, we want to publish them, and then by the time we publish them, we can actually name all these pages. Okay, instead of having page 1, 2, 3. Actually, this one there's nothing in there, so I can remove it. Delete page. Yes, delete. We don't want to publish empty page. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and publish this report. Publishing it will just allow you to, share with your team. So first thing, see where I say publish. Click on it, publish. Do you want to save changes? Of course, I want to save changes. Yes. It's loading. So it's obvious we're having a part 3 of this series, so we cannot finish it tonight. we'll definitely make a lot of progress. So we've made a lot of progress already. All right, so it's still loading. So while it's loading, I just want to encourage you guys. Don't just watch the video, or don't just listen to me. Make sure you practice it. Download Power BI Desktop, and play around with it. I can share some of those data sources with you. I'm sorry, the data set, the actual sample data. I think I shared it with you guys last time, but quite a number of them you can play with. All right, so you play along with me. Okay, so I actually have published to Power BI. I wanted to go to my workspace, which is a default one. I'm going to talk about this later. It's another application that I loaded data from. So my workspace is where I want to load it to. Select, replace this data set. You already have a data set name, employee TBL. Yeah, it doesn't matter, replace it. But if for any reason it's not what I wanted, I will cancel and I will go back and save as a different name. Okay, but I'm okay in replacing because everything I'm doing here is just a demo. All right, my report is published successfully. So let's go ahead and launch our Power BI service or view our report. So we go ahead and click here, open employee TBL. So it opens a different visual for me, even though I already have this one here open, but it's really pretty much the same thing. It's gonna open the same thing for me. All right, beautiful, sweet. Okay, so now I can actually share this report with anybody. I can share the URL with anybody. I mean, there are ways to go about it. We're gonna talk about them. So now once you are connected or you publish your report, if you have more than one page on that report, they will show up. If you take a look here, it says pages, right? So if I click on page one, it will show me what I have under page one. If I click on page two, it will show me what I have under page two. Okay. So now we have published our data. Now so that we just complete the demo that we started, refreshing data and seeing how data is doing refresh and all of that. So let's review a few things and see how we can make that happen. All right, so if you take a look at let's see. Okay, let's start with sharing it. So let's click on files. Now, under files, you will see option to save a copy of this report. You can download it and you can print it if you want. Okay. Now, export. I can export this report in a PowerPoint or PDF, or I can analyze it in Excel. And if I want to share it now with a team member, let's go ahead and see how that works. So click on share and select report. All right. So now you cannot share a report like this if you are not using Power BI Pro. I'm using Power BI Pro. You can actually use Power BI Pro for 60 days. All right. I actually started mine, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. As you can see up here, I'm still using the trial version for my Power BI Pro. All right. So now to share this report, you click on share and select share report, and then come here and enter the email address of whoever you want to see this report. All right. So for example, I will send it to our general email. I'll send it to info@mpit tech. Okay. All right. I can also send it to another email. Now, send it to another email, multiple emails here. Doesn't matter. Let's leave this one for now. Just let me add info. Mortgage grow. Okay. All right, now take a look at some important things here. Of course, it makes sense for the people you're sharing this report with not to just, receive a link without knowing what is going on. So it's good to make a quick note of these emails address are invalid or duplicate. Okay, all right, let's take one out. One or more email address with the following domains are outside your organization. That's fine because we have not synchronized them from this perspective yet. Okay. Or you know what? Let me use the one that is probably used to info at mortgage pro. So right here, I was even showing my name. All right, that's fine. So it sees that that is part of the domain, but I can actually send it to someone outside of my domain. Let me send it to a different. So send it to David. Let's see if we will. Okay, so one or more. So that's fine. Just a warning. Okay. All right. So it wouldn't make sense to just send this report without talking about what the report is all about. All right. So I can call this. This is uh, this is uh, employee report. Okay, it's not a requirement, but it's just good to make a short note there. Also, if you want to just send the link, you can copy the link. This is the actual URL link to the report. You can copy it, and send to the person, but you don't need to do that if you're sending it from this platform like this. All you need to do is hit the button share. See, the report has been shared successfully. Okay, all right. Let's check all the things and then let's go to our workspace. All right, sorry about that. Let's go to our workspace. So in my case, it would be my workspace. So if you go to my workspace, I want to refresh it. So under my workspace, it's going to show you the data set. It's going to show you the content. Content will be everything. So in this example, I have my employee table here that we just loaded, right? Okay. And then I also, if for any reason I want to see my data set, for me to be able to refresh the report, I have to be on my data set view right here. So my employee TBL. So if you hover your mouse around here, it will say schedule refresh. So let's click on that. Now for you to be able to schedule a refresh, like for example, if I click on schedule a refresh, I will not be able to do that. You know why? Because I do not have a gateway connection. All right. You need a gateway connection to be able to refresh the data. So the gateway is more like that security covering that protect who goes in to your on-premises database and who's able to come out and also is able to allow you to refresh the data because there is that relationship and connection between your Power BI and your SQL Server database. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead. And of course, for you to be able to install a personal data gateway is really not complicated at all. If I hit this button, it's going to start the download for me. All right. So go ahead and hit download. As you can see, it is downloading. It may take time, but I already have the downloaded version of that. Bring it up here, go to my downloads. I know I have it somewhere right here. Okay, so right clicking, run as administrator. It's asking me, do you want to allow this guy to make changes to your computer? I say, I'm fine with that. I trust him. Okay, all right. So here it's actually very easy and straightforward to install your gateway. So this is actually the personal mode. Okay, so you accept it and say install. It doesn't take time. Once the installation is done, you need to log in into your account. So meaning that you need to have a Microsoft account to be able to use it. Why? Power BI is a Microsoft product. Okay. So it actually happened really fast. So let's give it a few minutes to load. And then here, this is where you sign in using the right email account. All right. So I will provide my email that is, so remember this email here must be email that in my case here, I have this, I know what email that is connected or associated to this account or with this account. All right. So let's do, okay, just confirm that. So email address to use with this gateway. I want to use this email address. Go ahead and sign in. So I've explained to you guys the purpose of the gateway. The gateway is just what will be responsible or what will help your data to be able to refresh. So after installing the gateway, it will tell us that our gateway is online. Then we can go to schedule refresh. All right. We have two options. For some reason, they don't have monthly. You can refresh it weekly. You can refresh it. All right. All right, I just received an email that Moses shared a Power BI report with you. So I'm gonna open that so you guys can see. I will drag it down here so you guys can all see. Okay, while that guy is trying to load. So because I shared that report with David and I also shared it with info at Mortgage Pro IT Solutions. So this is how the person will see it. This is our employee report. Employee report. Okay. All right. So so to view the report, I just need to click open this report and it will open it in a browser. And then anybody that I've given access to that report, voila, will see exactly what I'm seeing. Okay. That is how it works. So I can see, can flip to different page. Remember, I gave this person access to be able to share with another person. I gave this person access to be able to do some modification. You don't want to do that all the time, depending on who you're sharing the data or the information with. Okay, so this guy opened here in my secondary monitor. So he want me to confirm which account. This is the account that I want to use. So obviously we're not going to be able to finish it tonight. So we're going to have a part 3 of this series. Let's wait for it. You have no personal gateway install. I have it, it's coming, wait for it. Um, gateway was not found. Please try to reconfigure the gateway okay. So this is normally you see this the first time you're trying to do it. So you go ahead and click configure. Now let's do this again. Just confirming my email. Try one more time. I don't know why I say it was not configured, but let's try it one more time. This has happened to me before. I tried the first time, it gave me the same error, even though the credential was correct. And then the second time, it connected me and my gateway was online. Okay, so while that is loading, I just want to make sure, in the meantime, any questions, I can answer questions as we begin to wrap up. Voila, looks good. So now we have the gateway is online and ready to be used. That's what we want to see. Okay, see a few information here. So our service setting, restart the gateway if it is recommended to restart the gateway every time you make changes to the gateway configuration files. If I want to restart it, I'll restart there. Diagnostic. So play around with this, read it, just to give you some information. Connection. So this one is important. So you can set the gateway to communicate through Azure Service Bus using HTTPS. instead of direct TCP. So it's important, you know, to understand the options that you have. Okay. All right. This is just my custom data connector. All right. I think everything looks good. So now if I come here and refresh this page, I would no longer see this warning. Okay. Now, your data source can be refreshed because the credentials are invalid. Please update your credential and try again. All right. So let's edit credential, basic. And that's one of the options. Showing lineage. Authentication method. Windows without business. Okay. Use that option. Privacy level setting for the data source. Organizational report view can only access this data source with their own Power BI identities. That's fine, but I'm not selecting that. Let's hit login. Okay, I want to refresh it again. There you go. So that error is out. So if I go to my gateway connection, bingo, it is connecting to my SQL Server where I want it to connect to. That is fine. Now, if I go now to my schedule refresh, I will be able to schedule refresh. Right now it's turned off. Wait a minute, it's not what I expected. Fresh history. It is running. Your data source can't be refreshed because the credentials are invalid. Please update your credential and try again. Oh, I guess that's why.
Okay, I have a new software. Just FYI, please, I can see all of you that are sleeping. Just so you know.
Okay, baby. I'm trying to figure out what is not right here, but we need to have, once you configure this, once you configure your data gateway, we're supposed to be able to, okay, I think this is the problem. Edit credential, show in linear view. That's not the problem. Oh, connect to data source. Connection successful. Okay. Open a report. Okay. So let me go back to, let's go back to the, let's go here. All right. The data source can be refreshed because credentials are invalid. I think my credentials are not correct. Because this guy is supposed to be active as soon as credential, edit credential. Let's do it again. So I just did privacy none. Let me see if that will allow me to bypass it. Okay, looks like it accepted it. There you go. All right. So this is what I wanted to see. So what did I do differently? I selected the privacy. I said none. I mean, in a production environment or in real data, you don't want to do that. You will confirm, of course, you would have had your right credential and be able to provide it there. I'm not sure why, I thought the credential that I provided was good. However, my gateway connection was successfully configured. All right. And then now we can schedule our data refresh. So keep data up to date. That's the purpose of this exercise that we are doing here. All right. Now, remember I told you it's only daily and weekly. So you can only refresh it weekly or daily. So let's say weekly, I can select the day that I want. I can select the day that I want, and then I can add another time. So if I want specific, I can come here and say, you know what, I want this to, what's the time now? This is 10 o'clock, right? So I can say 10, um, 10. This is another bad design here, in my opinion. You don't have more than, you can't do 10, 15. You can't specify what, it has to be either top of the hour or 30 minutes after top of the hour. All right, that's how it works. Okay, so I'll say 10:30, and this is either AM or PM. So PM. All right, obviously we're not going to be here to be able to see how this works, but most definitely, if you are having this kind of configuration at work, you should be able to follow this step to be able to set up your configuration, to configure your data gateway and be able to schedule your data refresh and specify the time. All right. So once you're done with that, you can hit apply. There's another option here that says if you want to send the refresh failure notification to another person besides the owner of this data. Okay, you can select this option and then provide the email address. All right, I'm not interested in doing that. So let's go ahead and hit apply. Okay, all right. So because I want to respect our time, let's do a recap of what we have covered tonight. So tonight we loaded data from SQL Server. We're not able to load from application. We're not able to load from website. So we're definitely going to do that next time. We transform the data. We learn how to modify the data, change the heading, and play around with the data. So we transform the data. Of course, we also did some visualization. We played around with the data, changed the colors, and we learned how to use the pie chart and different chart to be able to design our report. And of course, we automated our report, went to Management Studio, SQL Server, and we created stored procedure. We created a table and a job that loaded the result of some select statement into a table. So next time we're going to meet, we'll continue from seeing how the automation works in action. And of course, we also install and configure data gateway in this exercise. All right. So from next week, we'll see the refresh, how it works in action with installing data gateway that we have done already. And we have also scheduled the refresh. Okay. So we'll just see how it works. We'll make changes to the table and we'll come to management, we'll come to Power BI and see how it refreshes. All right. And then, of course, next week, we're going to continue from navigating Power BI services. There are a lot of examples. There's so many features there that we need to learn. So you don't want to miss our next week webinar. And of course, if you are watching this on YouTube, just look out for the part 3 series. And if you missed the part 1, please make sure you go back and check it out. And of course, if you have not subscribed to our channel, you want to consider doing that. Of course, hit the notification bell so that every time we post a new video, you will be able to get a notification. All right. Thank you very much for your time, guys. I'm going to give you, I'll stop the recording, but I'll give you guys time to ask a few questions if you have any. All right. Thank you.